I discovered my wife was running a secret hate club about me with our friends. After her toast at my birthday, I decided to leave. Last Sunday was my 40th birthday. My birthday was ruined, but honestly, that's the least of my problems. Instead of celebrating, I discovered something that has destroyed my marriage, my friendships, and my trust in people. I'm still in shock as I type this. My wife of 12 years, Elaine, threw me a surprise party at our house. About 20 people were there, our closest friends, some family members. The evening was going normally until Elaine stood up to make her birthday toast to me. She was a bit drunk, and what started as seemingly harmless jokes quickly turned into something else entirely. To my husband David, she started, who can't remember to put his socks in the hamper but somehow remembers every episode of Star Trek. Everyone laughed. I did too. But then she continued. To the man who thinks he's always right, who interrupts me constantly, who can't cook to save his life but criticizes my cooking. Her tone had changed. She wasn't smiling anymore. The room grew uncomfortable. Then she said something I'll never forget, who honestly reminds me weekly why we have our little support group. She caught herself and quickly covered with, why I need my girls' nights out. Several of our friends, my friends, I thought, looked down at their plates. Two women I've known for years exchanged glances. My sister-in-law suddenly became very interested in her wine glass. I tried to laugh it off, but the atmosphere had shifted. After cake, I overheard my wife's best friend Sarah whisper to her, I can't believe you almost mentioned the club in front of him. The club? I'll get to that. I spent the rest of my birthday party feeling like I was in the twilight zone. These were people I've had in my home for years. People whose children I've watched grow up. People I've helped move, celebrated with, comforted during hard times. After everyone left, I asked Elaine what Sarah meant about the club. She was still tipsy and irritated that I'd ruined the mood of my own party by being too sensitive about her toast. Finally, she snapped, it's just a stupid Facebook group where we vent sometimes. Get over yourself. I couldn't sleep that night. The next morning while Elaine was still sleeping, I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret it. I checked her Facebook on our shared computer where she stays logged in. There it was. A private group called David's World, Surviving Life with a Man-Child. My wife was the admin. The members? 8 of our closest friends, including 2 couples where the husbands are my best friends. My sister-in-law was there too. I started scrolling, and I felt physically sick. For 3 years, this group has existed. 3 years of them dissecting everything I say and do. My mannerisms. My annoying habits. Screenshots of our text exchanges. Photos of me taken without my knowledge with mocking captions. Elaine would post things like guess who left his dirty dishes in the sink again today? Hashtag classic David with eye-rolling emojis. Or today's gem from David, he actually asked me if his blue shirt was clean. I've only done laundry twice this week. Our friends would pile on with comments like why are they all like this? And at least yours doesn't, insert something their husband does. But the worst part wasn't the petty complaints. It was the deeply personal things my wife had shared. Arguments we'd had. Intimate details about our relationship. My insecurities that I'd told her in confidence. I kept reading, hoping to find someone defending me. Maybe one comment saying that seems unfair or have you talked to him about this? Nothing. I confronted Elaine when she woke up. Her reaction? Not remorse. Not shame. First came anger that I'd invaded her privacy. Then dismissal, it was just jokes and I was being too sensitive. Then, finally, justification, if I wasn't so difficult to live with, she wouldn't need an outlet. I packed a bag and went to a hotel. That was 3 days ago. I've received dozens of messages from the group members. Some apologetic, some defensive. My wife keeps calling, alternating between anger and tearful pleas for me to come home. She says I'm blowing this out of proportion. Am I? I feel like I've been living in a Truman Show where everyone was laughing at me behind my back. These weren't just acquaintances. These were the people I trusted most in the world. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if I can ever look any of them in the eye again, especially Elaine. How do you come back from discovering the person who's supposed to love you the most has been systematically humiliating you for entertainment? I never thought my marriage would end because of a Facebook group, but here we are. I think I'm done. Update, 3 days later. I want to thank everyone for the support. I was honestly surprised by how many people responded to my post. I expected a few comments telling me to get over it or man up, but instead, I received hundreds of messages from people who understood exactly how betrayed I feel. A lot of you asked about our marriage before this happened. Elaine and I met in our late 20s through mutual friends. I thought we had a good relationship, not perfect, but whose is? We have our arguments like any couple, but I always thought we resolved things and moved on. We don't have children, by choice, so it's just been the two of us building our life together. I work as a software engineer, and yes, I probably fit some stereotypes that come with that. I can be absent-minded about household things. I get hyper-focused on projects. I have my quirks and flaws like anyone else. But I've always tried to be a good husband. I cook, though apparently not well. According to the group chat, I help around the house, I plan dates and remember anniversaries. Several people asked if there were warning signs I missed. Looking back, maybe there were. Elaine would sometimes make jokes at my expense when we were with friends, but I never thought much of it. I figured gentle teasing was normal. Sometimes she'd be on her phone laughing, and when I'd ask what was funny, she'd just say, "Oh, nothing, just something Sarah sent." I've received messages from all 8 people in the group now. Their responses fall into 3 categories. 1. Genuine remorse. 2 friends sent lengthy apologies acknowledging how hurtful their participation was. One of them, Mike, whose wife was in the group, claims he had no idea it existed. He seemed genuinely shocked. 2. Minimizing. It was just a place to vent, or everyone needs somewhere to blow off steam, or we all complain about our spouses sometimes. 3. Deflection. Elaine started it, we were just being supportive, or it wasn't that serious, you're overreacting. My sister-in-law called me crying, saying she only joined to keep an eye on things and rarely participated. The chat history shows otherwise. As for Elaine, we finally had a real conversation yesterday. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop, neutral territory. She came prepared with what felt like a rehearsed speech about how the group was just female bonding and that I was making it into something it wasn't. I asked her how she would feel if she discovered I had a secret group with my friends where we mocked her, shared unflattering photos, and discussed our most private moments. She said, "That's different," but couldn't explain how. The conversation took a turn when I mentioned divorce. Suddenly, the defensiveness dropped, and real panic set in. She started crying and admitted that she knew it was wrong, but that it had started innocently, just friends venting, and evolved into something mean-spirited over time. It became a habit, she said. A toxic habit. And none of us had the courage to say it had gone too far. I asked the question that's been haunting me, do you even like me, Elaine? Because it doesn't seem like you do. Her answer was telling. Of course I love you, she said. Notice she didn't answer the question I actually asked. I'm staying with Mike for now. His wife Jessica was one of the group members, and they're having their own reckoning about this. He offered me their guest room while I figure things out, and it felt better than a hotel. Jessica is keeping her distance and respecting my space, which I appreciate. Elaine wants us to try counseling. Part of me thinks I should at least try to save 12 years of marriage. Another part feels like something fundamental has been broken that can't be repaired. How do you rebuild trust after something like this? I have an appointment with a lawyer next week, just to understand my options. I'm not making any permanent decisions yet, but I need to protect myself. Several therapists reached out in the comments, thank you, and I've scheduled a session for Friday. I need professional help sorting through this mess and figuring out why I didn't see this coming. We'll update again when I have more clarity. Update, 2 weeks later. Things have developed quickly over the past 2 weeks. I'm still processing everything, but I wanted to update you all since so many people have checked in. First, I moved out of Mike and Jessica's place after just 3 days. The situation became uncomfortable when Jessica tried to have a heart-to-heart with me about the group. She started by apologizing but then transitioned into explaining how men don't understand the emotional labor women do in relationships and how the group was partly a response to that. It felt like she was still justifying their behavior while pretending to apologize. When she suggested that maybe this could be a growth opportunity for me to address some of my behaviors, I knew I needed to leave. I've rented a small furnished apartment with a month-to-month lease while I figure things out. It's sparse but functional, and honestly, there's something calming about being in a neutral space that doesn't have memories attached to it. The club has imploded spectacularly. From what I've gathered through mutual acquaintances, after I exposed it, there was a flood of guilt, blame shifting, and infighting. 2 of the marriages besides mine are now in serious trouble. One husband, James, apparently had a similar reaction to mine and has moved in with his brother. Another, Tom, had suspected something was going on for months and finally had his suspicions confirmed. My sister-in-law called me again, this time with a more genuine apology. She admitted that she knew the group was wrong from the beginning but didn't want to go against her sister. I should have been the one to say something wasn't right, she said. I'm so sorry I failed you both. It's the first apology that felt real to me. The most surprising development came from Sarah, my wife's best friend and the most active member in the group after Elaine. She asked to meet me for coffee, and I reluctantly agreed. What she told me shifted my understanding of the whole situation. According to Sarah, the group wasn't initially focused on me. It started as a general venting about husbands group that included several other women beyond our immediate circle. But over time, as some members dropped off or became less active, Elaine started focusing more and more on me specifically. Sarah admitted that she and the others should have recognized how toxic it had become, but there was a strange competitive dynamic: who could share the most outrageous husband story, who could get the most reactions. It became like a game, she said, looking genuinely ashamed. And David, I need you to know something. A lot of what Elaine posted, it wasn't entirely accurate. She would exaggerate or sometimes completely fabricate stories to get a reaction. She showed me several examples where Elaine had dramatically misrepresented situations between us to make me look worse. Arguments where she'd changed what I said, incidents that never happened the way she described, or sometimes at all. I think she got addicted to the validation, Sarah said. The worse she made you look, the more supportive comments she got. This revelation hit me in contradictory ways. On one hand, it was somewhat relieving to know I wasn't actually doing all the things I was accused of. On the other hand, it made the betrayal even worse. My wife wasn't just sharing private information, she was actively lying about me to make herself look like a victim. When I confronted Elaine with this information, she broke down completely. Not the calculated tears from before, but a full sobbing confession. She admitted that she had been exaggerating and sometimes making things up entirely. She tried to explain that she'd been feeling insecure in our marriage and in her friendships, and the attention she got from the group made her feel important and supported. I started believing my own lies, she said. I would post something exaggerated, and then wait to be told how right I was, how wrong you were. And then I started seeing everything you did through that lens. She started intensive therapy, and her therapist has suggested she might have some undiagnosed issues that contributed to this behavior pattern. I'm not saying that excuses anything, but it helps me make sense of how someone I thought I knew could do something so hurtful. I've had 2 sessions with my own therapist, who has been helping me work through the shock and betrayal. One thing that hit me hard was when she asked if I was grieving the loss of my marriage or the loss of who I thought my wife was. I'm still thinking about that. The lawyer consultation was informative. We don't have children, and our finances aren't overly complicated, so a divorce wouldn't be a legal nightmare. But he advised me not to make permanent decisions while still in an emotional crisis. Elaine has asked me, literally begged me, for a chance to repair our marriage. She's deleted her social media accounts, started therapy twice a week, and sent me a 15-page handwritten letter taking full responsibility without excuses. A small part of me wonders if we could ever rebuild from this. 12 years is a long time to just walk away from. But then I remember the screenshots. The mocking comments. The private jokes at my expense. The lies. And I don't know if trust can ever truly be restored after something like this. I told her I need time and space to decide what I want. For now, I'm focusing on myself, reconnecting with friends who weren't part of the group, diving into work projects I've been putting off, and trying to rediscover who I am outside of this humiliating experience. Thank you all for your support and advice. It's strange how people I've never met have shown me more respect and understanding than some people I've known for years. Update, 1 month later. It's been exactly a month since my birthday party disaster, and my life has changed completely in ways I never could have imagined. After my last update, I spent a lot of time reflecting on my marriage and whether there was anything left worth saving. I kept coming back to one question: even if Elaine was genuinely remorseful and committed to change, would I ever be able to trust her again? Would I always be wondering if she was laughing at me behind my back, or sharing our private moments with others? I decided to take one step toward finding out. I agreed to attend a couples therapy session, just one, with no commitment beyond that. The therapist was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who didn't waste time on pleasantries. She asked us both to explain the situation from our perspectives, and then she did something unexpected. Elaine, she said, I'd like you to tell David, in detail, what you get out of being married to him. Not what he provides financially or practically, but who he is as a person and why you want to remain his wife. Elaine started with the usual things: I'm kind, I'm smart, I'm supportive. But the therapist pushed her to go deeper. And that's when something revealing happened. Elaine struggled. She talked about our history, our shared experiences, how long we'd been together. But she couldn't articulate what it was about me, as a person, that she valued and loved. The therapist then asked me the same question about Elaine. I realized I was having similar difficulties. I could list things I used to love about her, but they now felt hollow in light of her betrayal. I found myself talking about the past, about who I thought she was, not who she had shown herself to be. At the end of the session, the therapist said something that has stuck with me: sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes respect and trust are more important foundations, and once they're gone, trying to rebuild can cause more harm than healing. On the drive home, Elaine and I sat in silence for most of the way. Finally, she said, "We don't really know each other anymore, do we?" And she was right. The Elaine I thought I was married to wouldn't have created that group or said those things. And the David she described in that group wasn't me. We had become strangers, or worse, caricatures to each other. The next day, I told Elaine I wanted a divorce. She didn't fight it or try to change my mind. I think the therapy session had been clarifying for her too. We've agreed to an uncontested divorce and are working with a mediator rather than fighting through lawyers. The process has been surprisingly amicable, perhaps because we both recognize that what we had is gone, and there's no point in burning more bridges. As for the wider fallout from the club, it's been significant. 3 marriages including mine are ending. The social circle has splintered completely. Former friends have taken sides, though surprisingly, not all along gender lines. Several of the husbands have reached out to me, some to offer support, others to process their own feelings of betrayal. The most unexpected development came from James and his wife Melissa. After James initially moved out, they decided to try intensive therapy. 2 weeks in, Melissa had a breakthrough about patterns of behavior she'd learned from her emotionally abusive mother. She hasn't just apologized to James but has made real changes in how she communicates with him. They're cautiously rebuilding. Part of me envies them, but I also know every situation is different. On a personal note, I've made some positive changes. I've reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from during my marriage. I've started rock climbing again, a hobby I gave up years ago when Elaine showed no interest in it. I'm considering a job offer in another state. A fresh start might be exactly what I need. My sister-in-law, Kate, has become an unexpected ally. She's firmly in my corner, even though it's caused tension with Elaine. She told me something that gave me a new perspective: Elaine has always needed external validation. Since we were kids, she couldn't feel good about herself unless others were confirming she was right. I should have seen this coming, and I'm so sorry I didn't protect you from it. The most meaningful conversation I had was with my dad. He's not an emotional man and rarely offers advice, but when I told him everything, he said, "Son, the way someone treats you when they think no one is looking, that's who they really are." It's been a painful month of revelations and goodbyes, but also of rediscovery. I'm not the person they mocked in that group. I'm not perfect, but I deserve basic respect and honesty. We all do. I'm not sure if I'll update again unless something significant changes. Thank you all for being part of this journey with me. When I first posted, I was in shock and looking for perspective. What I found was a community of people who reminded me that trust and respect aren't optional in relationships, they're the foundation everything else is built on. Update, 6 months later. I wasn't planning to update again, but so much has happened in the past 6 months that I wanted to share my journey, especially for anyone going through something similar. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. We sold our house, divided our assets, and officially ended our 12-year marriage with surprisingly little drama. Elaine and I have had minimal contact since then, mostly through our mediator or via email about practical matters. I did take that job in Colorado, a complete change from our life in Pennsylvania. The company offered me a senior developer position with better pay and a healthier work culture. Moving across the country was exactly what I needed: new scenery, new people, and distance from the humiliation I experienced. The mountains here are incredible. I've fully embraced rock climbing again and joined a local climbing group. These new friends know nothing about my past or the hate club, they just know me as David, the somewhat introverted software guy who loves the outdoors and makes decent chili. There's something freeing about being known for who I am now rather than through the lens of what happened. I've been in therapy consistently, which has helped me understand some patterns in my marriage that weren't healthy, even before the Facebook group. I had a tendency to avoid conflict and brush off small disrespects to keep the peace. I also realized I'd been walking on eggshells around Elaine's moods for years without even noticing I was doing it. My therapist called it the slow boil effect, when things deteriorate so gradually you don't notice how bad they've gotten. About 2 months ago, I received an email from Sarah, my ex-wife's former best friend. She wanted to let me know that Elaine had moved to Chicago for a fresh start of her own and was continuing with therapy. According to Sarah, Elaine had made significant progress in understanding her behavior patterns and taking responsibility for them. The email included a forwarded message from Elaine, asking if Sarah thought it would be appropriate to send it to me. It was a lengthy apology, not asking for reconciliation or forgiveness, just acknowledging the full extent of the harm she'd caused and the work she was doing to make sure she never treated anyone that way again. I never responded. I appreciate that she's getting help, but I don't feel any obligation to engage. Some chapters are better left closed. As for the other club members, there have been various outcomes. James and Melissa are still together and, from what mutual friends tell me, doing well in their rebuilt relationship. 2 other marriages ended. The rest are in different stages of repair or dysfunction. The entire friend group has permanently splintered. My former brother-in-law reached out last month to tell me he and Kate are expecting their first child. He said Kate still feels terrible about her role in everything and wanted me to know that she often uses what happened as a reminder of how damaging casual cruelty can be, even when disguised as venting or support. I sent them a baby gift with a sincere note congratulating them. Life goes on, and I don't see the point in carrying resentment toward people who've shown genuine remorse. The most unexpected development has been in my personal life. About 3 months ago, I joined a weekend volunteer group that builds hiking trails in the national park near my new home. There, I met Elena, an environmental scientist who's passionate about conservation. We started talking during lunch breaks and discovered we had a lot in common. After a few weeks of friendship, I decided to be completely upfront with her about my recent past. I was nervous. Telling someone my ex-wife ran a hate club about me with our friends isn't exactly standard dating conversation. But I didn't want to start anything new with secrets or omissions. Elena's response surprised me. After listening carefully, she said, "That explains a lot about you, the carefulness, the way you sometimes seem surprised when someone compliments you. Thank you for trusting me with this." Then she added, "For what it's worth, I think they were all wrong about you. Very wrong. We've been dating for 2 months now. It's still very new, and I'm taking things slowly, but there's something profoundly different about this relationship. There's a level of mutual respect and direct communication that I now realize was missing in my marriage all along." Elena and I recently had a minor disagreement about plans for the weekend. Instead of making passive-aggressive comments or complaining to friends, she simply said, "I'm disappointed because I was looking forward to our hike, but I understand your work deadline is important. Can we reschedule for Sunday instead?" It sounds so small, but that kind of straightforward communication felt revelatory. I don't know where this new relationship will lead, but I do know I'm approaching it with healthier expectations and boundaries. I'm no longer willing to accept disrespect or dishonesty as a normal part of loving someone. Looking back on the past 6 months, I'm amazed at how completely my life has transformed. There are still moments of anger and hurt when I think about those years of mockery and betrayal. But those moments are becoming less frequent and less intense. Someone commented on my original post that sometimes what feels like the worst thing that could happen to you turns out to be the catalyst for the best chapter of your life. At the time, I thought that was just something people say to make you feel better. Now, I'm starting to believe it might be true. If you're in the raw early stages of a betrayal like mine, hang in there. The healing isn't linear, and it doesn't happen overnight. But it does happen. Thank you all again for being part of this journey with me. Your support and insights helped me navigate one of the darkest periods of my life, and I'm genuinely grateful. Final update, 1 year later. I wasn't planning to revisit this story, but as I approached the 1-year anniversary of that fateful birthday party, I felt compelled to share where life has taken me. A year ago today, I was in shock, staying in a hotel room, my entire social world shattered around me. I couldn't imagine what my life would look like in the future, I was just trying to get through each day. Now, looking back, I can honestly say that while I would never wish that experience on anyone, I'm in a better place than I've been in years. The most significant update is about Elena. What started as friendship, then cautious dating, has developed into the healthiest relationship I've ever experienced. 6 months ago, she was offered a research position that would require relocating to Seattle. After much discussion, we decided to take the leap together. We now share a small house near the water, with mountains visible in the distance. Living with someone new after my marriage ended has been both challenging and illuminating. The contrast between my relationship with Elaine and with Elena couldn't be more stark. Elena and I have disagreements, of course, all couples do, but there's a fundamental respect that never wavers. We address issues directly, we don't keep score, and most importantly, we genuinely enjoy each other's company. A small example, last month, I left dishes in the sink overnight after promising to clean up. With Elaine, this would have become screenshot material for the club, complete with eye-rolling emojis and commiseration about how hopeless I was. With Elena, it was a simple, "Hey, you forgot about the dishes. Could you take care of them before they get crusty?" No drama, no character assassination, just addressing the specific issue and moving on. I've had a few opportunities to test my new boundaries. Elena has a close group of friends who get together regularly for what they call decompression sessions. Early in our relationship, I noticed some similarities to how the hate club had started, friends venting about partners, jobs, family members. Instead of silently worrying, I told Elena about my concerns. Her response was perfect. She invited me to join them the next time so I could see for myself that while they might commiserate about bad days, they don't engage in targeted mockery or betrayal of confidences. She was right, their gatherings are supportive without being toxic. But her willingness to address my concern rather than becoming defensive spoke volumes. As for my professional life, the move to Seattle came with another career advancement. I'm now leading a development team at a company that creates accessibility software. The work is challenging and meaningful, and I've found I actually enjoy the leadership aspects that previously intimidated me. I've had very limited contact with Elaine or anyone from our old social circle this past year. Occasionally I'll get an update through my ex-sister-in-law Kate, who remains the only person from that period I still speak with regularly. Elaine is still in Chicago, apparently doing well in a new job and continuing her therapy. According to Kate, she's dating someone but taking things very slowly. I sincerely hope she's found better patterns of behavior. What happened between us was deeply painful, but I don't wish her ill. The club members have scattered to the winds. The divorce is all finalized, some moved away, others simply drifted apart once the thing that bonded them, complaining about their partners, was exposed. I heard that James and Melissa renewed their vows in a small ceremony, fully recommitting after nearly losing everything. Good for them. The most unexpected contact came 3 months ago when Tom, one of the husbands who divorced after discovering his wife's participation in the group, reached out via LinkedIn. He had seen I moved to Seattle, where his brother lives, and suggested meeting for a beer when he visits. We ended up having a long conversation about healing and moving forward. Both of us had similar realizations, that while the discovery was traumatic, we'd actually been unhappy for longer than we'd been willing to admit. Sometimes it takes something dramatic to make you face what you already know deep down, he said. I think he's right. My therapist has helped me understand that the hate club wasn't just about me, or even primarily about me. It was about unhappy people finding connection through negativity rather than addressing problems directly. Understanding that hasn't erased the hurt, but it has helped me depersonalize it somewhat. Last week was my 41st birthday. Elena organized a small gathering at our favorite local brewery, just a few new friends we've made in Seattle. The contrast to last year couldn't have been more profound. There were no undercurrents, no secret mockery, just genuine warmth and celebration. During the evening, Elena made a toast to David, who has shown me what resilience looks like. Who took something painful and used it to build something beautiful. Who chooses kindness even when it hasn't been shown to him. I'm so grateful you were born. I nearly cried. Not just because of her words, but because I realized I believed them. A year ago, I questioned my worth, wondered what was so fundamentally wrong with me that the person who claimed to love me would turn me into a punchline. Now I know there was nothing wrong with me, I was just in the wrong relationship. Someone commented on my first post that betrayal of this magnitude leaves you with two paths. You can become bitter and distrustful, or you can use it as an opportunity to rebuild with better boundaries and clearer eyes. I've tried to choose the second path. If you're reading this and going through something similar, please know that the rawness does fade. The questions that haunt you, was I really so terrible? Did they ever really love me? How could they do this? Eventually lose their sting. You don't necessarily get perfect answers, but you do reach a point where you don't need them anymore. A year ago, I thought my life was ending. In reality, it was just beginning. Thank you all for being witnesses to this journey. Your support helped me through the darkest moments, and I'll always be grateful. This will be my last update. I'm closing this chapter not because the story is over, but because it's transformed into something new, something healthier and more hopeful than I could have imagined when I first wrote that shell-shocked post from a hotel room a year ago. Life goes on. And sometimes, against all odds, it gets better.